Part 1. The Secret I Kept. When I married again at 64, most people said I was brave. Some said I was foolish. After losing my first wife, Martha, I had spent nearly 8 years alone at the lakeside lodge we built together. It was quiet there, too quiet sometimes. Then I met Linda. She was charming, lively, and 10 years younger than me. She said she loved peaceful places and fresh air. When she saw the lodge for the first time, her eyes lit up. "What a beautiful place," she said. I smiled, but I didn't tell her something important. I didn't tell her the lodge belonged to me. Instead, I told her a different story. "I work here as the maintenance man," I said casually. Linda nodded, completely believing me. The truth was simple. After Martha died, I inherited the entire property. The lodge, the surrounding land, even the private dock. But I had learned something about people over the years. Money changes how they treat you. So I stayed quiet. Linda moved into the lodge with her adult son, Kyle, who was 32 and between jobs, something I noticed right away. At first, everything seemed normal. Linda cooked dinner. Kyle mostly stayed in his room or disappeared for hours at a time. But after the wedding, little things began to change. Kyle stopped pretending to look for work. Linda began asking questions about the property. Who actually owns this place? She asked one evening. "The company that hired me," I said calmly. She nodded, but I noticed the way her eyes studied the house. The furniture. The lake view. Like she was measuring something. 3 days after the wedding, something happened that confirmed my instincts. When I came back from fixing a broken water pipe near the dock, I heard voices inside the living room. Linda was on the phone. "Yes, it's a beautiful lodge," she said. I stepped quietly closer. "And it could sell for at least $2 million. My stomach tightened. Then she said the words that made everything clear. "I'll bring the owner the paperwork soon." Owner? I almost laughed, because the owner was standing right outside the door, and Linda had no idea. Part 2. The Realtor. The next morning, I pretended nothing had happened. Linda was cheerful at breakfast. Kyle barely looked up from his phone. But I was watching, waiting. And sure enough, that afternoon a car pulled into the driveway. A sleek black sedan. Out stepped a man in a suit carrying a leather folder. A realtor. Linda greeted him warmly at the door. "Come in, David." She turned to me. "Oh, this is just someone helping us explore options." Options. I nodded politely. David looked at me briefly. "And you are?" "The maintenance man," Linda answered quickly. Kyle smirked. David barely acknowledged me after that. Instead, he walked around the lodge taking notes. "The location alone is incredible," he said. Linda smiled proudly. "I know." They walked outside toward the dock. I followed quietly a few steps behind. David looked out over the lake. "If the paperwork is clear, this could sell within weeks." Linda nodded. Kyle spoke up. $2 million would change everything." I crossed my arms. Because they were discussing selling the property like I didn't exist. like I was just a worker standing nearby. Finally, David turned toward me. How long have you worked here? About 20 years, I said. Linda laughed. He's been here forever. David nodded. Well, whoever owns this place is very lucky. I smiled slightly. Yes, I said. I suppose he is. Part 3. The real plan. That night I heard another conversation. This time Kyle wasn't careful. He was sitting on the porch with Linda. If we sell this place, we're set, he said. Linda lowered her voice. The old man doesn't know anything. My jaw tightened. Kyle laughed. He thinks he's just the handyman. Linda sighed. Once we convince the owner to sell, we'll take our share. And what about him? Kyle asked. She shrugged. He'll find another job. Another job. In my own house. I almost stepped outside right then. But instead, I went back inside and made a phone call to someone who had known me for years. My lawyer. Tom, I said when he answered. I need you to come by the lodge tomorrow. Everything okay? I smiled slightly. Oh, it's about to get interesting. Part 4. The documents. The next day, Linda brought the realtor back. This time with paperwork. Kyle looked excited. David laid documents on the table. If the owner signs here, we can list the property immediately. Linda looked at me. Could you bring us some coffee? Kyle chuckled. Yes, maintenance man, coffee. I walked into the kitchen, but instead of making coffee, I waited. 5 minutes later, there was another knock at the door. Linda opened it. Standing outside was Tom, in a tailored suit, holding a briefcase. Good afternoon, he said. I'm here regarding the property. Linda smiled. Perfect timing. We were just discussing the sale. Tom stepped inside. Then he looked directly at me. Mr. Harrison, shall we begin? The room went silent. Kyle frowned. Mr. Harrison? Tom nodded calmly. Yes. He gestured toward me. The owner of the lodge. Linda's face turned pale. Kyle stared at me. You own this place? I finally smiled. Yes, I always have. Part 5. The truth. The silence in the room was deafening. Linda looked like someone had just pulled the ground out from under her. You lied to us, she said. No, I replied calmly. I simply didn't tell you everything. Kyle slammed his hand on the table. That's insane. Is it? I asked. You were planning to sell my house. David the realtor slowly gathered his papers. I think I should leave. Smart man. Linda turned to me. You humiliated us. I looked at her carefully. No, you revealed yourselves. Part 6, the real test. Linda tried to recover quickly. All right, she said. Let's be honest. Her voice softened. We're married. What's yours is mine. There it was. The real reason. Kyle nodded. Yeah, we're family. I laughed quietly. You mean now? Linda's smile faded. What does that mean? It means, I said calmly, I wanted to know who you really were. Kyle scoffed. So this was a test? Yes, and you failed. Part 7. The Decision. That evening I packed Linda's bags. Kyle shouted, "You can't kick us out." I handed them the keys to their car. "Actually, I can." Linda's voice shook. "You're throwing away your marriage." "No," I said. "I'm protecting my peace." They left that night, angry, humiliated. But the lodge was quiet again, just like it had been before. Part 8. The Lesson. A week later, Tom visited again. "You okay?" he asked. I looked out over the lake. Better than okay. Most people would be bitter. I shook my head. Life is too short for bitterness. What will you do now? I smiled. I'll keep the lodge, and maybe next time I'll choose someone who loves the man, not the house. Part 9. The Quiet Ending. That winter, the lake froze over. The lodge was peaceful again. No arguments. No scheming voices. Just the wind and the water. And sometimes, peace is worth more than any marriage. When I married Linda at 64, I thought I had finally found peace. She was kind, attentive, and always said she admired how simple my life was. I never told her that the house we lived in was fully paid off, and that I owned 3 rental properties in town. Instead, I let her believe I was just the maintenance man who took care of the property. At first, it seemed harmless, but 3 months later, something strange happened. One evening I came home earlier than usual. As I walked past the living room, I heard Linda on the phone. Her voice was low but clear enough. "Don't worry," she said. "Once I get him to sign the paperwork, the house will be on the market in a week." I froze in the hallway. Sign the paperwork? Sell the house? My house? I stayed quiet and listened. "And he has no idea," she continued with a laugh. "He thinks I'm helping him manage things." That's when I realized something. Linda didn't marry a maintenance man. She married a target. But what she didn't know was that the maintenance man owned everything. So instead of confronting her, I made a plan. The next morning, I played my role perfectly. I made coffee, fixed the broken cabinet in the kitchen, and even asked Linda if she needed help with anything. She smiled sweetly, just like always. Then she brought it up. "By the way," she said casually, sliding a folder across the table, "these are just some property documents. The realtor said they need your signature." I looked at the papers slowly. Sure enough, buried in the middle was a transfer clause that would give her full authority over the house. If I had signed it, she could sell everything. Just like that. I leaned back in my chair and sighed. "Before I sign anything," I said calmly, "there's something you should know." She looked confused. So I reached into the drawer and pulled out a thick folder. Inside were the property deeds. Not just for the house, but for the 3 rental buildings and the land behind the lake. Her face turned pale. "You see," I said quietly, "I'm not the maintenance man. I'm the owner." Silence filled the room. For the first time since I met her, Linda had nothing to say. And that's when I realized something important. Sometimes the best way to discover someone's true intentions is to let them believe you have nothing.